Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Brandi Glanville to have for injected into her heart. Brandi Glanville is undergoing new treatments in her ongoing health battle. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills alum has been battling a supposed facial parasite for several years. She believes that she left Morocco from filming The Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip with it. But a new specialist does not think that is the case after spending a fortune on medical expenses and getting countless tests done. Brandi finally has hope. Her latest doctor is putting the pieces together and coming up with a new plan of action. Brandi was recording a recent episode of her podcast, Brandi Glanville Unfiltered, when her co-host asked about the bandaging on her right arm. It was then that the RHOBH alum explained that she was getting into my arm and into my heart. The 4 was injected into her heart because Brandi has a bone infection and a deep-seated skin infection from staph. The former Brave celebrity's current doctor seemingly came up with the staph infection diagnosis when others did not. She has seen a host of doctors and specialists in the hopes of an answer, but this one has finally given Brandi something concrete. He basically took everything I had from each doctor and saw all of it, and was able to put it together, Brandi said. It was almost like too many cooks in the kitchen here, and they just couldn't figure it out. As of August 2025, the mother of two has spent well over $130,000 and has exhausted my savings. Brandi shared one of her doctor visits, where her caregiver explained that she needed a PICC line to get intravenous antibiotics. Hopefully, this treatment plan will get Brandi back to good health. If television taught us anything, it's that Brandi Glanville is immune to half measures. When others dip their toes into drama, she cannonballs. When others whisper in the corner, she pops the cork. So when whispers on social media morphed into a headline, Brandi Glanville to have IV injected into her heart, the internet did what it does best. It gasped, it guffawed, it argued in all caps on Twitter, and then it made memes. But before the rumors become fact and the facts become fox paws, let's pull the chaise lounge of imagination forward and lie back into a scene that is equal parts tabloid fever dream and high camp medical satire. Picture, if you will, a sunlit LA clinic with marble floors and a receptionist who looks like she's walked straight out of a curated Instagram grid. Brandi walks in wearing sunglasses the size of small moons and an expression that says, "I've read worse in fan mail." The nurse, clipboard trembling with both professionalism and curiosity, asks the usual intake questions. "Allergies?" "Only to fake friends," Brandi replies. "Current medications?" Sarcasm, "Twice daily," the nurse types, trying not to let the font size give away her internal monologue. The 4 trolley gleams under the lights, stainless steel, clinical, decidedly unglamorous. If you discount a single rhinestone sticker someone has placed on its rim like a tiny crown. Now let's be clear, this is not medical reportage. This is creative imagining, a Norting vignette in which reality and spectacle have married, and invited every reader to the ceremony. In our imagined headline, IV injected into her heart is less literal and more theatrical, like someone mistaking a metaphor for a script direction. Brandi, ever the performer, consented to a procedure that is equal parts medical theater and personal metamorphosis, a fictional infusion that promises catharsis as much as it promises headlines. We step behind the curtain. The surgeon, more director than doctor with a stethoscope slung like a scarf, addresses the camera as if this is a reality show pitch. "We're not operating on the organ so much as on the weight of expectation," he says. "We'll bypass the usual pathways. Tonight we inject resilience, small doses of truth serum and in for drip of glitter, metaphorical." Of course, the anesthesiologist smiles like a co-conspirator and dims the lights. The cameras, sanctioned and polite, begin to hum like attentive bees. Brandi lies back. Hushed murmurs in the room wait for a pop like the interim after a soap opera cliffhanger. The syringe glitters under the surgical lamp, but when it pricks the skin, no blood blooms. Instead there is confetti, soft as gossip. Yes, this is absurd. Yes, it is delicious. The confetti catches in the air and flutters down like a verdict. What follows is not a medical chart but a montage. Brandi in a robe, sipping herbal tea that tastes faintly of redemption. Brandi texting with ferocious brevity. Brandi throwing open a window and letting the city sound pour in like applause. The 4, now a prop, dangles like a badge of survival, a reminder that one can choose how to be tended to, how to heal, how to stand. There's a humor here that's self-aware. In a culture that mines celebrities' bodies for metaphors, the idea of an 4 in the heart is provocative because it collapses interiority and spectacle into a single headline. It asks, pointedly, where does a person end and the publicity begin? Brandi, in our short film in words, answers with a smirk. "My heart's been written about more than my memoir," she says, and it's both a complaint and a quip. She knows the cameras will turn anything into an anecdote. She also knows how to turn back at them with a flourish. Throughout the imagined aftermath, friends and foes file statements. A fellow reality star posts an ambiguous selfie with a caption that could be sympathy or shade. A tabloid runs with purely invented quotes, and a stock photo of Brandi smiling in a pool. A fan page edits together a slow-mo clip of the confetti moment and sets it to a track that will earn 1,000 duet videos. In this ecosystem, fact and fantasy are indistinguishable cousins at a family reunion. But underneath the glitter and the memes, the scene quietly acknowledges real human things: the craving for care, the hunger for agency, the weird comfort of being seen. For a woman who has made a career of refusing to be small, the idea of having an in her heart becomes a symbol of choosing intensive care for what matters, of tending to the chambers where memory and ambition sit, of refusing to let other people prescribe the dosage of her life. Our imagined program is not without its critics. An ethicist posts a think piece about consent and spectacle. A cardiologist tweets a gentle correction about anatomy, reminding readers that hearts aren't targets for intravenous ports. A late-night comedian makes a bit about the literal-mindedness of headlines. All of these responses feed into the story, and the story, in turn, feeds them back to the public like a mirror that keeps getting polished. And then, because her tale must bend toward closure, Brandi steps out into the sunlight with the nonchalant posture of someone who has survived both literal and figurative procedures. She wears a t-shirt that reads "Ask Me Later," a wink to interviewers and to an audience that wants both explanation and gossip in equal measures. When asked about the experience, she says what she always does, something pithy, slightly theatrical, and entirely hers. "I didn't have it for injected into my heart," she says, "but I did get a transfusion of attention. And honestly, it feels like self-care." The cameras flash. The headlines morph. Some readers will scroll on, uninterested in nuance. Others will linger and consider the symbolic truth beneath the silliness. The confetti will be swept up. The rhinestone-topped IV trolley will be wheeled back into storage. And Brandi, who has always been equal parts candid and curated, will keep doing what she does best: turning life, with all its messy contradictions, into performance and then, occasionally, into a kind of delicate honesty. In the end, the phrase for injected into her heart is less an anatomical claim than a cultural shorthand for the lengths we go to narrate pain, to dramatize healing, and to negotiate authenticity in public. In our little fictional vignette, Brandi's procedure becomes a parable that invites laughter and reflection in equal measure. It asks readers to look twice, once at the sensational words, and once at the quiet human impulse that lies behind them. So here's to metaphors, to punchy headlines that make us stop, and to the people, famous or otherwise, who consent, sometimes reluctantly and sometimes gleefully, to be the subjects of our stories. If an IV could be injected into a headline, perhaps its true job would be to remind us that behind every sensational phrase is a pulse that deserves gentleness and a chance to be accurately understood.